This it turns my stomach too. I'll tell you that. And I've kind of been doing well. I started this little new healthcare routine prior to the new year because I don't like being like everybody. Oh, gonna turn over a new leaf, New Year's resolution. I don't do that. And this was very helpful aid today as I reviewed the stories because I don't have an appetite reading about billionaires who. Well, before I get into it, I'll just say this: anybody who's ever wondered what it's like to sleep with a billionaire because they're so bold and their money makes them so tall, I assure you, it's a very small experience based on this next story. You don't need to wonder, okay? They not like us. Well, here it is. Amazon, Meta, and Time Magazine kissing up to dear leader Donald Trump. In the lead to Trump's inauguration, the heads of major companies, there they are, like Amazon, Meta, have proactively tried to curry favor with the president-elect. I thought money said, yeah, when you have this kind of money, I thought you just don't have to answer to anyone. You do what you want to do. Well, not so much. Amazon said they're going to donate $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration in January, which the company will also reportedly stream on Prime Video. Will they also beef up the numbers, tell us that it was the most watched inauguration in the history of the world? I don't know how we can trust anyone anymore. Amazon confirmed the news to both the Wall Street Journal and CNN, with the Journal reporting that Amazon's donation was being prepared as founder and executive chairman Jeff Bezos was preparing to visit Trump at Mar-a-Lago next week. Amazon also will stream the inauguration through its Prime Video business, a separate in-kind donation valued at $1 million, the Wall Street Journal reported, citing an anonymous source. Mediaite again with the details. Amazon founder and executive chairman Jeff Bezos has reportedly sought to align himself closer to Trump in the past year. Last week, Bezos declared that he was very optimistic about Trump's second term in the White House. I bet you are. Look at the glamour shot. Probably cost a fortune. You picture someone behind the camera saying, now smile, now laugh, so I can get the shot. Ha ha ha. And then look at it. They captured his essence. Whatever. In July, following the near-miss assassination attempt against Trump in Pennsylvania, which left one rally-goer dead, several others injured, including Trump himself, Bezos praised Trump's tremendous grace and courage in a post on X. Our former president showed tremendous grace and courage under literal fire tonight, he wrote at the time. So thankful for his safety. So sad for the victims and their families. Did maxi pad sales skyrocket on Amazon shortly after that statement? I don't know. I know others were at the convention with it on their ear. They cut one in half and said, we stand in solidarity with Trump. Bezos's owned Washington Post also declined to endorse a presidential candidate ahead of the election in November, despite having previously endorsed President Joe Biden against Trump in 2020 and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton against Trump in 2016. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election, wrote Bezos.
Sure.
Yeah, in an op-ed following the decision. What presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. How's his fiance doing? And the yacht. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg reportedly contributed $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural fund, an overture on a historically tense relationship with the Republican leader. Meta announced it removed restrictions placed on former President Donald Trump's Instagram and Facebook accounts in preparation for the November election. I'm trying to tell you, if you're wondering what it's like to be on the inside with one of these people, put the picture back up, please. I think you don't. Would you really wonder? Look at the picture.
I mean, he definitely got a glow up from before. That other haircut was just awful.
It's true. It's true. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I don't even need an answer because I know what we're doing. Despite Trump's prior threat to jail Zuckerberg for allegedly attempting to influence the 2024 election, the Meta founder seems intent on mending fences with the incoming administration. Contribution also places Zuckerberg alongside other tech leaders who are recalibrating their relationships with Trump as he prepares for his second term. Last month, he dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, showcased Meta's new Ray-Ban smart glasses, even gifting a pair to the president-elect. His policy team, led by Joel Kaplan and Kevin Martin, also met with senior Trump aides. How can we help each other? Time magazine owner now, Mark Benioff, congratulated Donald Trump. This was after the publication named the president-elect its Person of the Year on Wednesday. How about Menace of a Decade? And we go, I would have gone with that title. We don't have to just have a Person of the Year every time. I understand it's tradition, but let's have some clarity here, a little context, if you will. Benioff is the founder of Salesforce and acquired time in 2018. In some years, this is a hard choice, editor-in-chief Sam Jacobs told MSNBC on Thursday. This year, not a hard choice. This was an obvious decision for those of us at Time. Hours later, Benioff tweeted at Trump and said, "There is promise in the country," and expressed a willingness to be working together. Has anyone studied what happens with people in North Korea, Russia, Turkey, other places where there is this dictatorship fear in the air? It's palpable. You can smell it. People think they clap, they see Putin on the horse with the shirt off looking absolutely crazy, looking like, an elf that belongs on the Lucky Charms box. And they think, oh, he's so powerful. He's so strong. Okay. Kim Jong-un, who just is a very small man, and I don't even know his height. I'm just saying he's this kind of weeble wobble thing that is so nasty. And
Weeble wobble.
That's right. And yet people are in the streets and they're standing at attention and they love him. He's the most eligible, da, 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 da. This is what this feels like.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Newsmax. No, go ahead. Yeah, and then I'll get to Newsmax because it just goes downhill from here.
Well, I mean, it is funny that some of these billionaires are following up with tweeting at Donald Trump, because it is very clear that all you have to do to get Donald Trump's attention is to tweet at him, make him the center of your world, and for a brief, fleeting moment, he will make you the center of his until the next thirsty idiot tries to tweet at Donald Trump and gets his attention, right? I mean, that's what this is. And they're buying him off with $1 million, which I think is very funny that Zuckerberg and Bezos are like, here's $1 million for your inauguration, when it's like, they're worth more than that. Like, if I were Trump, I would absolutely pit them against one another and be like, I think I'm going to need 5 million. Like, because why not? Because at this point, you could just do that to these billionaires. And they are terrified of any kind of regulation. They want to curry favor with you. Not that they should be afraid of regulation under Donald Trump's new administration. There's no way they're going to do anything to actually rein in the power of big tech. And, Mark Zuckerberg has to make up for the fact that he kicked Donald Trump off of Facebook in the wake of the Jan 6 insurrection, in part because all those radicalized boat dads were radicalized on Facebook itself. It's like, oh, okay, dude finally got the cue. And also, by the way, Trump wasn't even in power anymore. So it was, Zuckerberg could safely do it. It's so sickening. And yet, like, of course, this is the most obvious move. Everyone needs to boycott however they see fit. I'm a big old Instagram user, but I see the error of my ways. Get off of Amazon as much as you possibly can. These are ways we can try to, in our own personal ways, other than organizing, try to kneecap these billionaires who are kneecapping us.
We made you, we can take you. Well,
yeah.
And who knows for how much longer even the slight possibility of that will remain, because as they seize more and more power and take more and more of the pie and have left us with crumbs that not even a little mouse, forget about the city rats, they can't live off of these crumbs that they've left us, but not even a mouse is going to be able to feed a family on this kind of thing. power, all of it. We made, hell, they used the word dictatorship day one. It just seems
Yeah.
like it's happening.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Newsmax instructed staff to lay off Pete Hegseth. Can you imagine telling your staff to lay off a privileged white man with a big mouth? And they did. Fox News host Donald Trump nominated to serve as his Secretary of Defense after a segment bashing the pick sparked the ire of Trump himself. Nepo baby Greg Kelly, father was the police commissioner Ray Kelly in New York, helms the 9 p.m. hour on Newsmax. He tore into Hegseth last week, calling him blackmailable
Uh-huh.
because of his baggage. Blackmailable, okay? Saying you can't have this job because people will. Arguing he hasn't done nearly enough for MAGA to have earned the top job at the Pentagon. So the statement's all over the place. Okay. Nothing about the sexual assault and this and that, just what the allegations, alleged sexual assault, the allegations do to this person. And oh, yeah, he wasn't a big enough cheerleader, according to Nepo Baby Kelly over at Newsmax. Soon after the segment, Trump's team got in touch with Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy to express the president-elect's displeasure with the commentary. Multiple sources told Mediaite. One insider said Ruddy was shook after word came Trump was displeased. Again, North Korea, China. A lot of these places, they don't have, obviously, an open window into what's really going on. It's only what the state says is going on. That sparked action at the network, sources said. Friday, Newsmax Chief Operating Officer Elliot Jacobson convened staff at its New York headquarters to issue guidance in what one source described as an aggressive, panicked tone. Jacobson said that on-air coverage of Hegseth needed to focus on the positive. Is there positive? Jacobson told staff that if guests bring up Hegseth, hosts should explain to viewers that the claims against him are allegations and then pivot. Get off of it. Any issues following this will result in termination. Now, if this is true, as reported by Mediaite, I can tell you from inside the newsrooms I've been on that none of this is a shocker. That they said the last part out loud about you'll be fired if you don't, see your way out of this, that's usually not said. That's usually whispered, and then the HR person will start documenting you for leaving a Snickers wrapper on the floor or something. But this is this again hallmarks of a dictatorship. Your turn, Fran.
Well, I mean, this is Newsmax. That's what's wild. It's like how much critical coverage of Pete Hegseth were they actually
That
doing?
part.
Right? Like you can only imagine that they were sort of reporting what other outlets were also reporting, doing their own due diligence, but apparently you're not allowed to do that in Trump's America, and especially if you are an outlet like Newsmax. I mean, you must serve the king, so do not talk about Pete Hegseth, which is very ironic because the victim of a lot of Pete Hegseth's crimes, whether they be sexual assault, whether they be bankrupting two different veterans organizations that were funded by Republicans, all of the victims in this case were all Republicans. These were all people who were like, do not work with this man. In fact, don't be around this man. This man is a drunk. This man is financially irresponsible. And this man might actually assault you. And so it's incredible that like this is on their hands. And this is like, we care about this, even though we are not, Republicans, because we care about all humans. Nobody should be assaulted. When you head up a veterans organizations, hey, veterans should be respected. Even if, the backing is some billionaire Koch brother situation. You shouldn't, swindle people who serve this country. But Newsmax, but Fox, but any right wing mouthpiece is not supposed to care about that. We do that, right? We're the ones who do that kind of coverage. But yeah, it's truly wild the things they allow their own side to get away with. Pete Hegseth is so unqualified in every sense of the word. But I mean, how much can he do being drunk the entire time? We will see.
Yeah. Maybe the one thing he's qualified for, some kind of drinking contest, which the network does not condone. It can hurt you, it can put you under. But you're right, completing the circle of disinformation, sure. Republicans raising alarm. Joni Ernst at first until she's not. And progressives, Democrats, it's the left who's just, they're doing things to this guy. They're trying to Kavanaugh him.
Yeah.
Uh, Kavanaugh should have been Kavanaugh, frankly. Okay. It didn't quite work out as he was foaming at the mouth.
Well, that's
So,
a really, just a last point on that. That's a really good point because, by the way, they're not going to do an actual investigation into Pete Hegseth, just like they didn't do a real investigation into Brett Kavanaugh. We are now realizing all of the tips, and there were hundreds and hundreds of them received by the FBI, Trump's
thanks, Chris Wray.
FBI. They made them go away. They didn't investigate them. We now know that they didn't investigate. And Sharon, that's what we have to look forward to when the Senate does their so-called due diligence and the FBI actually, looks into the backgrounds of these nominees. They
Yeah.
will simply not.
Yeah, as Christopher Wray goes to spend more time with his family or whatever he claims his resignation will do at the end of this administration to protect the Bureau, people need to remember and know all the facts, or at least as many as you're allowed to know.